So another thing that I'm hearing a little bit about is breakaway civilizations, and the where I first heard about breakaway civilizations was first from the work of it was in a book called The Cosmic War. It was something like Modern Physics and Ancient Texts. And um, I just, it was Joseph P. Farrell is his name. And I just actually did a whole bunch of readings for, I actually read his entire book. I believe I read the entire book, Babylon's Banksters, on my Uniquilibrium or the World Reading Club podcast on Spreaker that I have, 2222. And I and he, I believe, mentioned the author David Hatcher Childress, which I was reminded of the name David Hatcher Childress when I was reading the book previous to this one by Eric von Daniken. He has one called The Gods Never Left Us from 2018. This is War of the Gods from 2020. And Eric von Daniken mentioned him in there. And that reminded me of the breakaway civilization idea. And I also recently heard Billy Carson of Forbidden Knowledge, as he says, Forbidden Knowledge, talking about breakaway civilizations. But the way that he talks about breakaway civilization, what was that blinking on there? Some blinking thinking. Is that my is it still connected to my car? It looks like the GPS or something. But yeah, so that was, oh, I see what that is. So he talks about the breakaway civilization, Billy Carson, that is, talks about the breakaway civilization as in relation to the Anunnaki, and that the breakaway civilization that they created was the one here on Earth. So their original civilization that's composed of many different races of beings from different planets and star systems and everything like that, they came to Earth, and this Earth colony where they eventually ended up genetically engineering humans to be workers for various reasons. This is considered the breakaway civilization. But the way I understood the breakaway civilization at first, and this could just again be my interpretation from what I read, because in The Cosmic War by Joseph P. Farrell, it came off to me a lot like something, well, I'm going to go into my website, uniquilibrium.com, and I know that on there I had published something not too long ago, and so I want to make sure that I get it right, because there was a what is going on here? Just want to go to uniquilibrium.com. Okay, so and so I remember reading, let's see, website. Okay, so I'm on Uniquilibrium. There's a photo of the lovely Flora Elizabeth Carrasco. But on here, there is something I did talk about, the breakaway civilizations. It was probably late last year sometime, because something came out. Oh, this is funny too. I'll get to that later. I'm seeing so many things, I don't want to get distracted, which I easily can. Oh yeah, so this is, I was talking about earlier, the book from, that's super bright, huh? There we go. The book Babylon's Banksters from Joseph P. Farrell. So that's all over uniquilibrium.com. I read the entire book there. everything is associated with the World Reading Club, because I love reading, and it's one of those things that has really helped me to connect, and basically it's prevented me from going quite mad. So I think what I'm actually going to do here is just go into the search. Let me just type in UFO, and because this is related here, the reality of UFOs. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Yes. Okay, so I think it's this one. It's called the reality of UFOs and out-of-body experiences. So I'm going to go into that one. And yes, that's the one. Okay, so this is the podcast, The Reality of UFOs and Out-of-Body. And this is when my podcast at one point in time was only... Is that the Anchor one? I wonder if is it still there? Is it working on Anchor?
In this self-note.
Yep. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it's still there on Anchor.
Today's episode.
All right. So now it was actually recorded. Wow, that was in 2021, May 22nd, 2021. That was actually here, the very location I am now. So yeah, so this is what I had written, and the notes from Free Association. It's called The Reality of UFOs and Out-of-Body Experiences. Number 1, UFOs are real. Louis Elizondo, The Pentagon. Breakaway Civilization, Joseph P. Farrell, Interplanetary War. 3, side note, Resonance Killing Pathogens. 4, Intergalactic Communication System, Message of the Pulsars by Paul A. LaViolette. Anti-Gravity Propulsion Electrogravitics, also Paul A. LaViolette. Ether Physics, Etherons and Non-Physical to Physical. Ontological Mathematics, Symmetry, Asymmetry, Physical Reality. Reality is mathematical information. How we can have out-of-body experiences due to coherence or symmetry. And symmetry may be achieved acoustically with demiphase. So demiphase is my demi-cerebral neurophasing, which is just my brand of hemispheric synchronization, or hemisync. But the idea of the breakaway civilization as I described it there, and I wonder, do I have other descriptions here? No, I just have a lot of links in the podcast. So again, as I said, Billy Carson had described the breakaway civilization as basically being a civilization of the Anunnaki, right? So them becoming the Anunnaki here, right? The ones from heaven to earth came, right? The Anunnaki. Hershey, you all right? The ones from heaven to earth came, the ones who from heaven to earth came, something like that. So that became their name, the Anunnaki, from the ones who from heaven to earth came. They came from space to the earth. They weren't, I don't know if they were, I mean, why would they be called the Anunnaki on their home planet, Nibiru, right? But, so the Anunnaki is the breakaway civilization. The breakaway civilization, as I know it from those previous works, as I was referring to it from the work of Joseph P. Farrell, which also David Hatcher Childress, and in that case was actually a breakaway civilization of humans. And it's humans that have possession of and can apply and use a very highly advanced technology that's hundreds to thousands of years and more advanced of what we have been exposed to on Earth, most of us, regular folks. And one of the things that I heard, that they have something sort of like what was described by, I forget what the guy's name is, but as the sport model at Area 51, basically the small flying discs, the flying saucers, those commonly described UFOs from like back in the 50s, right? They have vehicles like that where, some of these breakaway civilization humans have already explored our entire solar system and this galaxy, and have been outside of the galaxy. And so that is our breakaway civilization. Basically, we have an entirely separate or broken away civilization of humans that are in possession of this really advanced technology that allows them to essentially break away and really be a completely different civilization, because they're living in a completely different way than we are. They are living in a completely different civilization that's unknown to most of us. They're able to travel to different planets and different solar systems in our galaxy and different galaxies. So that's a completely different way of life. They're living like a Star Trek civilization, right? Of what we would know. They're just traveling around doing things, and we have zero understanding of that. And something that just came to mind, just saying that for some reason, I don't know why it came to me this way, but perhaps this civilization, it's so broken away that, some of the things, I believe that one of the things, well, let me get to what I was going to say first, what came to me right away so I can retain that, is that the abduction scenarios and a lot of other things that are allowed is because there's a certain group of humans that have been allowed into this greater technological civilization, right? And so they really don't care. They're living a whole different thing. They might even have colonies, other human colonies on different planets, and that's their thing, and they're part of, some other organization or group, and we here are on a prison planet. I remember when I used to look at some of the stuff from Alex Jones back in the day, I remember that he had Prison Planet and InfoWars were two of his channels. And I used to remember thinking, wow, we are maintained on a prison planet through InfoWars, through not knowing we are imprisoned on this planet because of our lack of information. And that's basically the breakaway civilization is of humans. And I believe what Louis Elizondo from the Pentagon was saying was that, let's see, decoding the message of the pulsar is temporarily out of stock. Oh, that's interesting. Was that, man, I know I wrote it on one of these here somewhere, but it was basically, he was saying, most of the UFOs that we're seeing, oh yes, here it goes. I actually have a link to it. I have a link. It's this one right here. Read, UFOs are real, right? So clicking on that, this is the article. UFOs are real, right? But might not be aliens, and that's somehow more terrifying. I remember that, right? And so I'll just read a little piece of this. UFOs are real. This is true in the most general sense. There are flying objects that we simply cannot identify. But increasingly, it seems as though everyone, including the federal government, is entertaining the possibility that these inexplicable events are potentially extraterrestrial happenings. The latest to give credence to this theory is Lou Elizondo, a former Pentagon employee who told 60 Minutes that UFOs are real, the government knows about them, and in some cases there is no clear explanation for their existence. Right? But the part is that they might not be aliens, and that's somehow more terrifying. Implying that if they are humans, there might be implications for national security if they are foreign assets, right? Where the assets that foreign nationalities hold, that foreign governments hold, or even enemies of ours. So if we're not the ones, we as in Americans are not the ones who possess this advanced technology, then that's more terrifying if they are not aliens and humans have them. However, in the case of the breakaway civilization, as I understand it, that is the case, and it doesn't matter that they are not American, because that's the whole point of a breakaway civilization. That's the definition. They have broken away and created another civilization, so they're beholden to no nation on Earth. They might have, subordinate colonies or nations on Earth, but more than likely, one or more nations from Earth broke away and created this breakaway civilization. And of course, we wouldn't have a complete story of all this kind of stuff with UFO technologies if I didn't mention the Nazis, right? Of course, the breakaway civilization and the connections to the hollow Earth and the moving down to Argentina and Antarctica and the hollow Earth and all that stuff like that. So, it could be a coordinated effort between a few different nations that have broken away. So that is my take on the breakaway civilization. It's a little bit different from what some other people are saying, but that's what I understand it. And my information came from, like I said, I had originally heard about it through the work of Joseph P. Farrell in the interstellar war or interplanetary war, and his references to David Hatcher Childress and that kind of stuff some many years ago. So there we go. That is my take on the breakaway civilizations.